Welcome back, everybody, to the last part in my series of ranking winners. Anyways, I obviously did a Survivor winner rankings like a month ago and a Big Brother winner rankings where I ranked all of the winners. Today, I will be doing it with the Amazing Race. So this is probably going to be the most fact-based winner rankings I've ever made, because obviously there's a little bit of bias towards Survivor and Big Brother, obviously due to it having strategy and no clear way of winning any of those games. But with the Amazing Race, it's pretty clear how to win it. Just don't come in last place, and if you do, don't come in last place again. So it's a very repetitive show, which makes it very easy to rank the seasons, as obviously shows like Survivor and Big Brother have a lot of twists in them. Survivor has like stuff like Edge of Extinction, Redemption Island. It has stuff like advantages. In Big Brother they have some twists like the hacker comps that could completely just ruin somebody's game even though their alliance is in power that week. So, yeah, the Amazing Race is a little bit less like that because it's more consistent. If a team is in front for most of the season, they're most likely going to win. So today I will be ranking all of the winners. So from Robin Brennan all the way to Colin and Christy. Obviously, season 32 will be coming out soon. So once I get reviewing that season, I'll tell you where those guys land in the rankings. Anyways, so yeah, we have 31 winners to rank here, and how I'm gonna rank it is basically I put them into tiers. How many times were they saved by non-elimination rounds? Like, some people were saved by non-elimination legs twice. Some people were saved by non-elimination legs only once. Some people were even saved by non-elimination legs like one half of the time. And by that, I'll get to that once we get to that person. But also, a lot of people have gotten saved by multiple non-elimination rounds and the same amount. So how I decided to break the people in the tier was I ranked them by their average. How good and consistent were they throughout the race, and then basically the higher average obviously gets ranked above the lower average. And if there's a tie between averages, because they happened a couple times here, I go by how many first places did they get? Like, how many legs did they win? And if there's a tie there, then I just go to second places, third places, fourth places, on and on until we break the tie. So, yeah, it's going to be a pretty fact-based ranking. So, let's get on with it. Moving on to number 31, we have the winners of Season 2, Chris and Alex. And they were pretty, honestly, bad at their race. They were pretty inconsistent, coming in a lot of second-to-last finishes. And obviously, they were saved by non-elimination legs twice, as it says over there. But they had a 3.38 average, which is on the lower scale of winners, but honestly not bad. They won 3 legs, which honestly doesn't give them a boost at all. That's only the legs is only there for tiebreakers. But yeah, they were pretty inconsistent, and they were mainly just getting at multiple. They just pissed some people off, especially like Will out of Tara and Will, as obviously they got tricked by them the first time they were saved by a non-elimination leg. So that's obviously terrible for obviously me ranking them. So Chris and Alex, not very good winners. They're not top tier for me. Obviously, they're at the bottom. They didn't do very good throughout the race. So that's why they land here at number 31 in last place. Now, coming in number 30, which is one of my favorite teams in Amazing Race history, just because of how chaotic they were. And this is Flo and Zach. I mean, I love Flo, just as a character. Zach is pretty cool. Zach's chill. Zach's cool. I like Zach. I like him, but he wasn't very good TV. But they honestly weren't bad at the race. They were pretty consistent in the beginning, but then they obviously had that bike incident where Flo is yelling at Zach for taking off his pants, and then they waste a ton of time, and then they come in last place. But they were saved by back-to-back non-elimination legs, which is something that never happened. Also, in the penultimate leg, they came in last, so that's obviously not great. But this was back then where the penultimate leg usually was an elimination leg, so yeah. They had 2.77 average, which is pretty good, and they won 2 legs of the race, so they weren't a bad team. Their fighting just caused them to come in last twice, so that's why they're here at number 30, just strictly because, that one. That's the only reason why they're here. Anyways, moving on to number 29. We have a probably going to be a pretty controversial ranking, and this is BJ and Tyler. Yes, BJ and Tyler are the 3rd worst team to win the race. And they're honestly really good racers. Like, in the beginning, they were battling with Eric and Jeremy, just constantly getting first, second, between them and Eric and Jeremy. So that's what got them a 2.33 average and got them 5 legs won of the race. Reason why they're down here, coming in number 28, is Josh and Brent. And Josh and Brent were not very good. They had a rough leg. They had a rough first leg of the race, as they were in last place for most of it until they just found the guy quicker than 4 other teams, which got them a 7th place finish. But they have the worst ranking of any team in Amazing Race U.S. history who has won the race with 4.58. They only won 1 leg, which was the last leg, and the leg that ultimately won them the race. And they were saved by non-elimination legs once, so they would be the worst ranked team if we were only looking at the averages, but since we're also looking at the non-elimination legs, they ultimately go up against the beasts of BJ and Tyler. But they still end up in number 28, which I think is a pretty good ranking for them, even though if I were doing it off my own free will, they would have been lower. Alright, moving on to number 27. We have basically the female versions of Josh and Brent, and this is the Candy Girls, Maya and Amy. They were not that great at the race. They only won 1 leg, and they were saved by non-elimination legs once. That being the final 4 leg of the Amazing Race of season 25. As if this were any normal season, Maya and Amy go home here. Like, no question. They did not have... Amy and Maya were supposed to go home there, but they decided to introduce this twist where 4 teams go into the finals and the team would be eliminated midway through the leg, which I thought was a very dumb twist that I didn't really enjoy, as it screwed over Misty and Jim. So, yeah. But they had a 4.5 average, better than Josh and Brent's. Probably would have been above Josh and Brent if I were ranking off my own free will, but I'm not. They only won 1 leg, so they're not great. Moving on to number 26, we have Eric and Danielle. And a lot of people were probably complaining about this ranking, being like, they should be in last place. They were the worst. And just based off of statistics, they're not. Obviously, their average is terrible. 3.62 for a winning team, not great. But they were saved by non-elimination legs once, which get them above BJ and Tyler. So, yeah. They won 1 leg of the race, which was obviously the last leg. And this has been a common trait with these past 4 winners that we've been talking about. But yeah, Eric and Danielle were very less than mediocre. So that's why they land here at number 26. Moving on to number 25, we have TK and Rachel. And TK and Rachel were very boring. They were dull. They never really did anything throughout the race. They got a 3.18 average, which isn't good, but not bad. It's somewhere in the middle. They were only saved by non-elimination legs once, and they won 3 legs, which is pretty standard for most winning teams, like, winning 3 legs. Which is literally 25% of the race now, but TK and Rachel did pretty good throughout the race. I mean, they placed last in the final 4. Well, the first final 4 leg. So, yeah, they're not remarkable. Honestly, no team in that season really dominated. But TK and Rachel just won, so. Moving on to number 24, Uchenna and Joyce. And this will probably be a very controversial ranking, but no. Saved by non-elimination legs once. They won 3 legs, which obviously, I've said before, pretty standard. And they had a 3.17 average, which is pretty good. But it's mainly that saved by non-elimination legs once that really got them. So, yeah. But if it was Rob and Amber who won that season, they would be season 7's winner would be really high. Moving on to number 23, we have Cody and Jessica. Now, here comes the tricky part. So, obviously they have a 3.29 average, which is worse than TK and Rachel and Uchenna and Joyce. But, saved by non-elimination legs 0.5 times. That's because of the dumb little twist that they added in the final 6 of the Amazing Race 30, where they did a partner swap, where Cody was partnered up with Jen out of Jen and Christy, and Jessica was partnered up with Christy, who was Cody's partner in the partner swap. And Cody and Jen placed first, which is why the 2.51 legs is there. But Jessica and Christy placed last in that leg, which got them that 0.5. So yeah, they were automatically gonna be here anyway because they're the only team that got this ranking, that got that ugly little 0.5s there. So yeah, moving on to number 22. We have the worst team to never place last in the non-elimination leg, and this is Dan and Jordan. They obviously have a 4.33 average, the worst out of any team to not place last in the non-elimination leg, but win the race. They were never saved by a non-elimination leg, and they won 2 legs. So, not really much to say about them. They were very unremarkable and very mediocre winners. Moving on to number 21, Brooke and Scott. Basically, Dan and Jordan, but a little bit better, 4.08 average, and they won 2 legs of the race. They were very dysfunctional. They're basically the older version, I'd say, of Flo and Zach, the stranger versions of Flo and Zach. But they were a very entertaining team, and if this were based off of entertainment, they would be very high. Moving on to number 20, we have Freddie and Kendra. And I know a lot of people don't like Kendra, and some people don't like Freddie. Not many people like this team. They have a 3.67 average, which obviously is not great. And they only won 2 legs of the race, so they're very unremarkable. Moving on to number 19, we have Keisha and Jen. If you guys are wondering why I am just zooming through this, there's really not much to talk about. Like, I only have this stuff on the side to talk about, so it's probably only going to be at most 20 minutes long, so yeah. Moving on. Anyways, Keisha and Jen at number 19. They were actually tied with Kelsey and Joey. But, yeah, so Kelsey and Joey also got 3.33 average, like Keisha and Jen. And they were both never saved by a non-elimination leg and won 1 leg of the race each. The thing that placed Keisha and Jen lower than Kelsey and Joey is the amount of times they placed second, as Keisha and Jen placed second 3 times, while Kelsey and Joey placed second 5 times. So that's why Kelsey and Joey are number 18. Moving on to number 17, we have Chip and Ken. And they won 4 legs of the race, 3.31 average, never saved by a non-elimination leg. They land here at number 17. Now, moving on to our exact halfway mark, we have Dana and Matt, the winners of Season 28, the Influencers Edition. They were a very dysfunctional team. They had the same rank. They had the same as Uchenna and Joyce. But if this were season 21 that they won, they would have gotten a cool $2 million because they won 2 legs of the race, being the first leg and the last leg. Which in season 21 they had this twist where if you won the first leg and won the last leg, you would get $2 million. But obviously, it wasn't season 21. I'm just mentioning this to fill in time. But anyways, Dana and Matt weren't very great, so here they are at number 16. Moving on to number 15, we have Riken and Chip, the winners of season 4. And they were very mediocre. 2 legs, 3.15 average. Never saved by an elimination leg. So yeah, number 15. Now, number 14, we have Strangers, Laura and Tyler. So they're better than Brooke and Scott, with a 3.08 average, a full one average over them. They're actually tied with Nat and Kat for their average, 3.08, which they're at number 13. And they won 3 legs, but Nat and Kat won 5 legs, so that's why they're here at number 13. And with Laura and Tyler, pretty good at the race. Nat and Kat also very good at the race. The highest and the first all-female team to win the race, so that is a fun fact. Anyways, moving on to number 12. We have Jason and Amy. And, I mean, I don't really think they were that good at the race. I mean, they got a lot of second places. They only won 2 legs of the race and 2.92 average. And, yes, they weren't very good at the race. I don't think they were mediocre at best. But due to my little rules I have here, they landed number 12, so. Moving on to number 11. We have Ernie and Cindy. They had a 2.83 average. They were never saved by a non-elimination leg. And hey, they won 3 legs, like most of the people on this list. Moving on to number 10. We have the Lentz family. And it's very different with the Lentz family, as obviously they had only 10 people in their race. And they had 4, and it was teams of 4. They were almost, the thing about this team, they were almost eliminated in the first leg, which makes it very funny how they make the top 10. But yeah, they have a 2.75 average despite their terrible 9th place finish in the first leg. But they won 2 legs of the race, which is pretty standard. Moving on to number 9, we have Tyler and James. So, they have a 2.5 average, and they won 4 legs of the race. They were never saved by a non-elimination leg, which puts them all the way up here at number 9. Moving on to number 8, we have Rob and Brennan. The first winners were the best winners for a long time, until the next people we'll be talking about. They had a 2.46 average, and they were never saved by a non-elimination leg. And they won 5 legs of the race. So pretty good start to the winners of the Amazing Race. At number 7, we have Nick and Star, who are the first team to be better than Rob and Brennan. They have the highest amount of wins for a team so far on the list with 7 legs won. And they have a 2.45 average, which is really good. They had a couple 6th and 7th places, I think, 6th and 5th. But when they weren't in the top of the pack, they were somewhere in the middle. So that's what puts them not in the top 6, even though they won quite a bit of legs. Moving on to number 6, we have the latest winners, Colin and Christy. And what can you say about Colin and Christy? They completely changed to their second season after their first season coming in 2nd place. And them changing got them a win. But with 2.42 average and 3 legs won, they were pretty less good. I wouldn't say less good. They were just less competitive this season, although still competitive. But yeah, Colin and Christy were pretty good this season, despite them only winning 3 legs, which I think is the least out of the top 5. out of the top 10, I think is the least 3 legs won. But they were really good at the race, and they got 2.42 average, which very consistent. Moving on to number 5, we have Bates and Anthony. They were tied with Colin and Christie with their average, but obviously they won 5 legs compared to Colin and Christie's 3. So here they land at number 5. They were very boring. Don't have really much to say about them. Very, very boring, very dominant, number 5. Moving on to number 4, we have Tammy and Victor, who were really, really, really surprisingly good at the race. They never finished below the top 3, except for that one screw-up in the 3rd leg where they placed 8th. But they were never saved by a non-elimination leg. They have a 2.27 average, and they won 5 legs of the race, which make them a very good team. Moving on to our top 3. At number 3, we have the winners of the 2nd All-Star season. No, the 3rd All-Star season. Dave and Connor. I feel like the fan community is pretty mixed on them. You either love them for their story or hate them for their attitude. But you gotta admit, they're really good at the race. They won 6 legs, never placing lower than 4th, which got them a 2.17 average. So you can't say that these people were bad at the race. Moving on to number 2. It's pretty obvious to see who the top 2 are now, but number 2, Megan and Shane. They have a spot-on 2.0 average. They were never saved by a non-elimination leg, and hey, look, they won 7 legs. They were very dominant throughout the race, and which made the race pretty boring as they just kept on winning legs and legs and legs. But yeah, the number 1 team will probably always be the number 1 team unless we got a team who wins every single leg of the race. And this is Rachel and Dave. I mean, come on. They have an average better than 2.0, which is I think only 3 people have gotten that. And I think it's like Tom and Tyler from The Amazing Race Australia 4, and Eric and Jeremy, and obviously Rachel and Dave. They won 8 legs, which is the most in the Amazing Race history. And they were never saved by an elimination leg, which put them at number 1 for being the most dominant team in Amazing Race history. That's it for the ranking. Jeez, I am done. Until we get more seasons of The Circle, I'm done with this series. Anyways, I will be back with my reality TV show reviews next Sunday, coming with the Amazing Race 1 review. I have a show to binge watch. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.